SJW, like, okay, in CHAZ, it's mainly these commie SJW leftist dipshits who don't have anything better to do. I want to say incels. I don't know if it's that far, but it's looking like it. And they're not there to produce anything, right? They
Okay,
take over a portion. They take over a fucking police department in Seattle. They replace the word police with people, and then they put up barricades, which are borders.
Yeah.
And it's not privately owned. It's still, according to them, a public space that is becoming a tragedy of the commons because people are showing up there, not for tourism, but to stake out. And if nobody's producing anything, then it constrains resources. And
so how are they
Right.
actually feeding themselves? Or do they have gardens, and are they farming, or what?
it's funny you should bring it up.
Yeah, they are.
They do. They made a garden once they started gardening, which isn't ideal because it's like sidewalks and shit. So they had to like lay down a tarp and have some soil or something. But
Okay.
there's this shitty ass garden, and
Yeah.
it has up the sign says like designated for blacks and indigenous peoples only. so, so do they just do a quick melanin test?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they gotta check your genealogy to make sure.
Yeah, they
You know.
they got to do a 23andMe test. Make sure you're at least a quarter indigenous, whatever that means. Whether it's hominid before the Native Americans or what, I don't know.
Right.
So this is another. So this is another observation. So the first observation was the first thing that these leftists did was they created borders, and now the second thing they do is they're racially segregating their country. So it's like they're secretly rediscovering how to be right wing. It's like they're
Yeah.
the fascists. It's like Antifa literally are the fascists.
That's kind of all I've always felt about them. Like they are being anti-fascist by using fascist tactics. I mean, it's incredible.
Exactly.
It's
And
absolutely incredible.
if there were some businesses along that sidewalk, I mean, would they let those businesses operate as usual, or would they have constrictions and a new framework of rules that the city of Seattle previously had, like when they could or couldn't open or something?
Yeah.
And this is not even getting to, I mean, the the protection aspect, which Kaz Simone or Kaz, that's his name. It's like the lead, a warlord, like in Mad Max style, basically. Because the way the left wing media is portraying this, like we were just talking about before recording, is the left is saying, "Oh, this is beautiful. This is amazing. People are singing Kumbaya and they're starting co-ops and everything."
Yeah.
But that's all
Yeah.
during the day.
Right.
That's all during the day. They're not reporting on what's happening at night and all the
Yeah.
shit that's going down. And then on the right, Fox is like, "This is just chaos and anarchy." I'm like, it's like technically a perversion of anarchy, and it's going to turn into like this commie
Oh yeah.
quasi state. But the way Fox is reporting it is like people are killing each other and like it's
already-
just crazy and chaos. But they're reporting, like they're showing the reporters there during daylight when it's so peaceful. So it just doesn't make any sense. They don't have any reporters there at night, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, and maybe not much is happening. Is much happening over there? Like, are the people killing each other off in the streets,
Not
burning
yet.
everything down?
But I'm
Well,
sure some shit's
They're in the early stages of communism. They've already ran out of their food supplies, so the bodies will start stacking next. I believe it won't be long.
Do you have the picture of the list they have? Tucker Carlson already did a segment last night that I watched while I was at work, actually. And you know how whenever there's some shit going down in Israel, Palestine, like, missiles are fired to or from Gaza, they usually have the foreign correspondent like all khaki and like a bulletproof vest and like a helmet.
Yeah.
And it says like Israel/Palestine or Gaza/Israel in the top left corner. Well, Tucker went to this reporter and he was at the border between the United States of America and the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, CHAZ. And it says like CHAZ/USA border right in the corner. And then it shows like all the commies you would expect, like trying to cut in on the segment. and it was just hilarious to me. It's like
Mitch,
they're technically reporting right next to a foreign country in the United States, which is fucking eccentric as all hell. But it's interesting. It's an interesting shitty experiment.
Mitch.
Okay,
There
so
it
here's the
is.
list. Here's the supplies they need at CHAZ.
Yeah, cigarettes and lighters being item number 3. Ice, the good kind, of course. You got to get the good kind. Male pants, like how do they just list male, men's? Like how sexist is this? And are they assuming genders? This is just wrong on so many levels.
Misogynist as all hell.
It's just terrible. Gatorade, backpacks, tents. Like basically they started this whole thing with absolutely nothing. What a plan that is, right? You're gonna start this whole thing on your own. Oh god, we broke it. There we go. You start this whole thing up, no food, like no basic supplies you need for survival. You're like, you know what? Fuck it. It's like Into the Wild.
Yeah, with Christopher McCandless.
How funny
Except he
would
was
that?
a little more prepared.
Yeah. He
How
he had the skills to survive and produce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Logan, you're gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, how funny would that be if, like, 100 years from now, Chaz is like an empire that controls half the world?
Oh my god.
Like it's
It's the Ottoman Empire
Yeah.
all over again.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
What if
Mongolian,
they're
the Ottoman, and the Roman empires all combined at their peak geographically. It's like
I mean-
Raz Simone, the guy in charge, who's just walking around with a fucking crew strapped.
what if he's like Genghis Khan and he just has like a gazillion babies?
Oh my god.
Yeah, like 200 years from now, 1 out of every 8 males, like
Just rapes and pillages throughout the entire
1 out of every
United
8
States.
males is related to Raz because he was the first emperor of CHAZ.
Just think of
Yeah.
how many people that would have to be, because there's like 7 billion people on the planet.
Yeah, now and it's expanding. I mean, that's
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
But just the
he would have-
scale
yeah, he would have to fuck much more than Genghis Khan did, and
and just kill off a bunch of people so that the ratio becomes, 1-8.
exactly.
what's the
Exactly.
over under on when Chaz is gonna get nukes?
Well,
Nukes. I think they have like one guy with a gun at the border. It showed him he has an AR,
Yeah.
a bulletproof vest, and
well,
he's just checking people, but he's also letting people through, which is weird because if you're trying to produce in an area and make it specifically for that area, and you're letting the people or the citizenry of that particular area, of which they are a part, and then you let anybody through, rich or poor, I'm guessing just poor, then and you let them eat up and constrain resources, then
I think basically we just have to look to North Korea as to see how, this whole thing's going to play out.
well, there's probably an alliance between Raz and Kim Jong Un. You never know.
Yeah. There you
But
go.
I thought he's friends with Trump. I thought Kim
never
Jong
know.
Un was friends with Trump.
Hangs out with Trump,
Yeah.
Rodman.
It's a tight circle.
You know. But yeah, imagine if some looters and rioters came along in that autonomous zone, who would they go to for protection? Because they're against guns and firearm ownership, and they want to push gun control, but they don't have the authority or any outside entity or authority to be able to enforce their gun control mandates.
Right.
Oh
yeah, and then they don't have any weaponry themselves nor organization. I mean, I think that's the big problem with all of this. There's no hierarchy. You need some sort of organization, some sort of top down. I don't know how else it works. That's all I know.
Yeah.
You can't just operate a business by, I'm just hiring a bunch of random people. I'm going to take all these people with no skills, no experience, and I'm just going to see how this goes. I mean, how do you expect that to go?
yeah.
It's you don't have masters of their craft or anybody who even knows a little bit doing anything in this thing. Like, that garden is just pathetic. Who laid that out?
So
Like, what the fuck is that shit?
Does Chaz have trade with the rest of the world? Like, do they trade with the U.S. or other countries?
Or is it just
a good
is it
question.
smuggling or trading? Exactly.
Well, do they use the U.S. dollar as their currency? Do they not have their own currency yet?
They probably
They
use like
should get the CHAZ
shitty.
coin.
Yeah, they probably use like shitty indie folk cassette tapes as currency.
It's like bottle
Like,
caps from
hey man,
Fallout.
I got this sick vinyl too. I can throw in for that
Oh my
pack
God.
of oranges or Newports or something.
Uh,
But if they traded and bartered, that would be. I don't see anything wrong with that, but you need to produce something. You need to
Yep.
rely on resources. You can't just. It just doesn't come out of fucking thin air.
Yeah. Well, so you're gonna have what? Just do they think this is like a video game? Like people are just gonna be NPCs. They're just gonna stand there and run shops while you get to run around and live your daily life and get all your quests done and do all your shit. But
Yeah.
then there's just gonna be the shop owners. You know, they're just shop owners. That's just what they do. And it's like, what's their motivation? What's their incentive? Like, there's no functioning economy there. Like,
You gotta wonder how many of the inhabitants of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone were homeless previously to the formation of this newly found country, or how many had like a shitty job that they were working maybe 15, 20 hours a week, didn't have anything going for them. They were just like, fuck it, I'm gonna.
well, how many people
any
are on
chips I have.
unemployment right now and getting subsidized while they're doing all this shit?
That's true.
I think that's
Wow.
that was the fuel to all of this, is how many people were off work with nothing to do.
Yep, and Washington State has the same thing as Minnesota when it comes to the CARES Act that Walls passed, the extra
Yeah.
$600 per week on top of what you were getting for unemployment. It's the same thing in Washington, so these guys can just camp out.
There you
man.
go.
They're living the fucking dream.
Well, that's where a lot of this chaos is happening, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, somebody should look into that. What areas had the highest unemployment and which areas broke out? Minneapolis, obviously, big one. Minnesota, huge unemployment over the past couple of months and up in flames, just
Yep.
like that.
Yeah, Dallas was pretty bad, but also Seattle was terrible for the COVID outbreak. Even, I mean, by any metric. So you factor that in, and the fact that Inslee wants to keep everybody inside for another month, maybe 2 months. Well, it's just the perfect storm of fucking looting, rioting, the media pushing a certain racial narrative,
Yeah.
and then you get CHAZ, and from the ashes will rise a phoenix. Our Lord and Savior Raz.
I mean,
But yeah.
Rome started out just being like a city, and then they became the biggest empire in the world. Who's to say that won't be Chaz?
I don't know, the Second Amendment probably.
Yeah.
The one time like that band or that crew and CHAZ just fucks with the wrong person who's like a tourist, maybe like some guy in a MAGA hat with a dip, and hopefully that'd be the perfect media narrative. He's just packing like a Desert Eagle, just shoots one of those fuckers, and he's like, "Well, now we have ourselves a good old fashioned standoff."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there aren't any courts. You know, it's not like the fucking show Survivor and you got to vote somebody off the
Yeah.
island or something.
Maybe that's how they're going to do it. They're going to have to come up with their own judicial system. Yeah, I mean, basically they're going to realize that they're going to have to create all the structures that already existed that they rebelled against.
Yep. But they're probably going to be even shittier
Right.
than
Oh,
the state could
absolutely.
do.
Well,
No
because
doubt.
they're not going to copy exactly, but they're going to come up with their own better version, as you're going to see.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing
Yeah.
that play out right now. Gardening's already improved. They're coming up with the next, the next big thing as far as gardening goes. I mean, we had a good system down, but this system that they have, where you just scatter plants randomly and you lay cardboard down and put dirt on top of it, brilliant.
Man, it's going to revolutionise agriculture. Their crop yields, I bet, are going to be 15 times what the
Through
average
the
Midwestern
roof,
farmer can
dude.
get.
Through the roof.
But
Ryan.
no, oh, go ahead, Logan.
So Ryan, do you know if they have like universal health care and free college in Chaz?
Oh, of course they do. Free education. Absolutely. I mean, I gotta do a little more investigation, but there might even be some sponsorships that they can get and get a full ride.
Get a full. Mom,
So-
I'm leaving. I should tell my aunts that like, I'm actually leaving. I'm going out to Seattle and I got a full ride to CHAZ State University.
Yeah, CHAZ University.
I'm gonna learn co-oping and gardening, and I get to
Yeah.
Raz is the principal.
Yep. I think it's all funded by white people, though. There's certain restrictions as far as who's approved.
Yep, they have their quotas. That's affirmative action, just like Harvard and
Yep.
Yale do with Asians.
So they really are copying the institutions that are already set up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
How do they pay for it? Do they collect taxes or what?
that's a good question.
Raz
Or
comes around with. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe they issue bonds. Like you could buy bonds from the nation of CHAZ. I wonder
Yeah.
what their credit rating is.
They
Do you
have their
think
own Federal Reserve.
Yeah. Do you think Moody's and Standard and Poor gave them like a AAA credit rating?
Oh, yeah, they probably have a credit rating that of Deutsche Bank. Just perfect.
Yeah,
Spectacular.
flawless.
Yeah, it's probably like the Federal Reserve is probably like a few guys dressed in like that, like guy in like dark clothing in Willy Wonka
Yeah,
when he tries to give Charlie the fucking ticket in the alley or whatever.
yeah.
That's probably just in the corner with with the top hat, like the black trench coat, the black boots. Oh man, but yeah, it's probably Raz probably has a bat. He's wearing a leather jacket. He's walking around. He's like, which one of you hasn't paid up yet? And he has it like he's holding it like behind his head, but between his arms.
Yeah.
And some wise guy's like, hey, Chess, I don't think these guys have paid up yet. We got to shake them out of their pants a little bit. What do you say? And the media is going to catch all of it. And they're going to be like, yep, this is...
How the fuck did we end up here? What
Yeah, well,
happened, dude?
Here's the real question: is as much as CHAZ is a joke, do you think this kind of idea of splitting up and like seceding from the U.S. is going to become more or less common? Are there going to be more groups trying to pull off CHAZ? Are some of them going to succeed?
I mean, I could see it.
I mean, if you think,
I don't doubt it. So
yeah,
what
if
are
you
saying?
think about the trend of our country getting more divided, and there's different groups that have all these resentments against the U.S. Like, why wouldn't you expect there to eventually be a civil war and some kind of split up of the country?
Yeah, I mean that's a very valid point.
I mean, yeah, definitely. It gets to the point where it's not only ideological, but then maybe the left does arm itself to a certain extent or a certain percentage of leftists by some fucking miracle. They get pissed off enough. And even within like the ANCOMs and communists, like there are still these split up sections and whatnot. But the closest thing I think to real secession wasn't Northern California, and they wanted to create their own like country called Jefferson or something. And I think it was in New Hampshire with the Free State Project, and it's still kind of ongoing, where New Hampshire is just a mountainous, heavily forested state. So if like some townspeople got together and said, like, this is an autonomous zone, like except paying taxes, obviously, like that would still like be a thing. The state would come down heavy and hard on them. But outside of that, if they said like, we really don't want to enforce like, the drug war, any other of these things, we want to rely on like maybe a security firm that we could trade and barter with or have another currency. That centered around Keene, mainly in Keene, New Hampshire. But it's the taxation aspect of it where if the state loses a great portion of their tax base, then of course they're going to come in with guns and demand, payment. Whereas with CHAZ, if they don't pay into the system and they're just getting like subsidies and unemployment and welfare and shit, and they're not paying taxes, well then maybe the state won't fuck with them. Like they won't come and take it down. They'll just let it fail on its own.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I really question though how many people are receiving unemployment money? Like, are these basically state-sponsored actors right here?
Yeah, who are they getting
Yeah.
paid by? Because they can't just not get, unless they rely purely. More and more people go to CHAZ, and then like donations have to necessarily increase because they're taking up resources and eating and drinking and doing all this things. And
You don't just set up your own little city and have that many people come together without having enough resources. And they didn't have enough resources. We could tell by their list that they had. So people have to be getting stuff from elsewhere. So they're probably going to be getting it from the established structure around them. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how else they're going to survive because they're not producing enough at this rate to take care of all of the people within their own borders.
for sure, and that's a good point. Is, I mean, who is paying them? And we've seen with Mayor Ted Wheeler in Portland, Oregon, he doesn't do anything to stop Antifa. And Seattle's kind of the same way. They don't do anything to stop Antifa. And if they're funding this little experiment of theirs, then
so much of this is organized.
Sponsored. Yeah, exactly. It's state sponsored, I would argue.
Well, yeah, if they're on unemployment, I would just call it that.
Yeah.
Because they're getting paid by the state so that they can go out and take care of themselves. They don't have to actually go and work for money.
Yep.
The state just gives them money, and then they can go out, protest, do whatever the fuck they want. It doesn't even have to be sponsored by anybody else.
And it's
like,
it's essentially a communist state, like we were saying, because if they are getting subsidies to live and they're the inhabitants, well, then that means the money is getting redistributed, obviously, from income earners via the state as a medium and just given to them. So it's like, okay, well, if that gets cut off, then CHAZ will be no more. The empire will fall.
So there's where some of the money could be coming from. Where's this organization coming from? Because this wasn't just random. Like, all the stuff that happened in Minneapolis, that wasn't just random. And then all of a sudden it's breaking out everywhere. And it's just people that end up overwhelming the police, and the police can't do anything about it. Like, none of that to me just seemed like a natural response to any of this, because we've seen how many atrocities like throughout the last few years. But then, yeah, this one was bad. I agree that this one was bad. Everyone was upset, but the level that it went up to, and how many people were just there to fuck shit up and overwhelm the system.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen? I mean, even in Philadelphia with the Super Bowl, like, they were fucking their city up, but it didn't even get to that level. No. And like I was saying before, it's Minnesota. Minnesota is the most passive-aggressive place in the whole U.S. that I can think of. Like, Minnesota nice. We'll be nice to your face, but we'll talk about you later. That's pretty much it. So I can't picture a bunch of Minnesotans going out and fucking shit up. It doesn't add up
without
to me.
some sort of coordination and structure beforehand.
Yeah. It's like, for it to just naturally occur doesn't make sense to me. It has to have some sort of top down, whether it be, let's just say, Antifa, whoever. Somebody put this shit together. I'm not going to point fingers at who. It just seems to be a fact at this point, because things don't just happen like that.
Yeah, that
was an organized thing.
And like we talked about before, is Walz Frey and every other bureaucrat that was in charge, at least in Minneapolis and in many other major cities, they really fan the flames by not stopping it, because it furthers tension and divide. Would you agree, Logan?
Yes. Yeah, they really messed up. It seems like they were afraid to enforce the law because they think that would mean somebody would get hurt, and then it would, even worse, hurt people's feelings. The fact that there were, cops out there putting down the riots. So to avoid all that, I think they just let it happen, and then you see what happens.
Yeah. Well, because if they did anything and say one more person died throughout this whole thing, then how much worse is it going to be?
Mm-hmm. And even if that person justifiably died, like we've mentioned before with John Ripple. John Ripple got deferred on charges, and now he's out, and now there are 90 days that the prosecutors the prosecuting office can still file charges.
Well, I didn't think of that. There was your person that died right there. And then you could see the response of that. Like, people are upset about it on both sides. Like, he should have had the right to defend himself, but then this looter, nobody gave a shit, right? We don't hear about the guy that died, do we? The guy that died as a consequence of all this shit going on. So you can see right there, if there would have been an extra casualty, nothing would have happened, but it would have been about the media spin drumming it up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the fuel to all of this.
Definitely.
I mean,
I think
it didn't happen naturally.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that part pisses me off too, about how they had the resources in place once the guard, was ready to go. They could have like sent him out along with however many officers Kroll had at his disposal. And if there was a stand down order to not protect the business district that was getting looted and rioted against on Lake Street, but instead resources were misallocated and diverted to, tear gas protesters and whatnot that were in the streets and to push them back. And it just seems like it kind of factors into the orchestration of all of it.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense, really, because, Walls is probably going to come out on top regardless.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think everybody being on unemployment was, just the start of it all. Nobody's working. Everybody's laid off. And how many people work in restaurants, that ended up getting laid off that are probably these types of people that just work your average job. Most of those jobs got shut down.
That manufacturers leaving town, obviously. Good.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
And
were you affected big time by the coronavirus, Logan?
Well, my job switched from driving down to downtown Minneapolis to working remotely, which I actually like that because I don't like driving into Minneapolis. But the one thing I did not like was that the gym was shut down for so long, because that's a big thing for me, is my lifting weights and fitness. But it actually opened up this week, so I got to get back to that.
There you go.
And now I'm finding out that it sounds like we actually probably won't even be going back to work for the rest of the year. We'll just be working remotely.
okay.
I think a lot of companies will move that way.
Yeah, and it's not even unprecedented, because in the past they have hired people virtually where they just were always remote. But
Sure.
our class was not meant to be that way, so now they're having to replan everything.
Sure. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of companies restructuring and moving towards this sort of model because they've realized, well, we can still get things done, and I don't have to pay for this office that I'm renting out that costs me however many thousands of dollars a month, and they're just going to become more profitable out of this sort of a thing.
I think so too. Just
And
cut down on
100%.
yeah, more people work from home. Yeah, I think it's a good thing because, like you said, it's just you're driving down to Minneapolis, you're just putting a bunch of people in a concentrated area, and it's just a waste when it's not necessary with technology these days.
Yeah, there was already a trend of more businesses going remote, and I think the pandemic was just a major catalyst that made the trend go faster.
Yeah, fan the flames.
And yeah, if we're right and that really happens, then what I guess you'll see is that the cities will get less dense and people will kind of spread out, because one of the incentives to live closer into the city is just to have a shorter commute.
Yep.
But like if you can pay a lesser rent or for a cheaper home to live in the suburbs and do the exact same job and not have to drive in, then that's a huge advantage for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Some people just like
Huge
living in the
advantage.
city, but to me, I would way rather not have to live in the city if I don't have to.
Right. Well, how many people live down there that like you wouldn't want to live down there, but you'd feel like you have to for your job. So how many places are going to just get thinned out because of this? Most cities near there are large because they're close to where all the jobs are at.
Yeah, I think
It could
everything
be a
will
good
just
thing.
spread out.
Yeah, I've always wondered. Just people say, "Oh, we don't have enough space. We don't have enough space." It's like we do. We just keep cramming everybody into the same
Exactly.
Yeah.
areas. We cram everybody into the coastlines. Like, how many people could we fit in Montana still?
Oh
Like,
God,
A
big
lot.
sky country.
A lot.
there's just
It's
so much open
huge.
area throughout the country. So I could see it being a good thing.
Yep.
Definitely. It's going to be an interesting fight with the insurance companies fighting back against the state if the state had the resources to protect these businesses, because those businesses pay taxes,
Yeah.
and those business owners and store owners pay taxes for what is included and encompassed within their taxpayer dollars is protection.
Well, do insurance companies even have enough on the? Do they even have enough money to foot the bill for all this? Probably.
Probs. Well, it depends on the insurance company. Like if it's a smaller insurance company, and I don't know, there was that, just those businesses just past the post office that I took pictures of, where they're just
It's probably
fucking
going to be a
torched.
bailout.
Yeah,
Just like with the banks before, it's going to be now we need to bail out the insurance companies. We need to bail out all these cities that got destroyed. So, yeah, the city will let itself get destroyed and then pay for itself to be fixed back up.
which is fucking ridiculous. And I'm sure
Yeah.
there's some middlemen who get some cuts in all of that as well,
Oh, absolutely.
because
happens
bureaucrats are involved. But
all the fucking time.
when I was taking pictures and of those volunteers and kind of helping them out a bit at Target, it was weird because I went back to Lake Street to take more pictures of kind of where Ali Velshi had been on that corner where that one building is just torched on all sides. And then I went back to Target because I got some supplies from like a helping station, and then all the volunteers were going out, and then the main like cleanup guy was like, "Yeah, we don't have to keep bringing stuff out because they're just going to demolish the Target."
Yeah.
That's what he said. And
Jesus.
yeah, and when you first walk in there, it's like 3/4 of an inch high in like liquid, and there's bleach and some Clorox, some stuff mixed in, like chemicals. And I wore a mask not because of COVID-19 or whatever, but I just wore a mask because it was kind of nauseous. It made me kind of nauseous. And it made me think, okay, well,
Yeah.
if like on the second or third day of it getting looted and just fucking obliterated, they say, oh, well, don't clean up anymore. We're just going to demolish it. Well, they like wasted a day and a half or 2 days of
Yeah.
these hardworking volunteers' time and efforts.
I mean, what a bunch of saints just going and cleaning up Target. Like,
Yeah.
Target
Yeah.
has all sorts of resources they could just dump into it for taking care of it. Like, demolish the building, just have it cleaned up that way, and just start over. They
Yeah.
can do that. They've got the money. But then people are like, no, we must clean up. I'd be like my grandma.
Yeah.
She just needs to see everything neat and tidy. She'd just be like right in there.
Yeah. But I don't know if the helpers or volunteers knew it ahead of time, but I mean, man, was it fucked up in there. Like, just not even just the front, all the back. The back, there wasn't anything there. And there was this poor
Yeah.
homeless guy who walked in there and was kind of like looking for some stuff too. He had like some bags of cans and whatnot. And
Yeah, I saw some of your pictures. It's
Yeah,
crazy
those-
shit down there.
it's just super sad, but it's nice seeing the volunteerism and the people willing to help each other and just get it cleaned up right away, not fixed and repaired. That's going to fucking take months.
Yeah.
And that's if business comes back once this whole, mandatory stay-at-home order ends for good.
Right.
I mean, the businesses that are open are going to benefit. They're going to keep their cash flow going once business starts up again. But the ones that got torched, they're done. They have to deal with a bunch of shit, insurance, and oh god.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm ready for 2020 to be over.
Well, yeah. Let's see what 2021 brings.
Yeah, let's see what CHAZ is like. Maybe it'll be the new Empire.
So, do you guys think that this civil unrest helps or hurts Trump's chances of re-election?
It's going to be used to hurt him. I don't think we're going to see much of that until it gets closer. Because it's all going to be about the media. Once the media starts drumming it up, they're going to say, look at where we're at. Let's do a recap of this year under Trump's leadership. And it already has kind of started. I was just reading an article that came out just last night about Joe Biden criticizing Trump over the whole coronavirus and saying, that the numbers are way too high. So many unnecessary deaths because of Trump. So many people have died because of Trump, and coronavirus and his, lack of leadership, all that jazz that they keep saying. And I'm just thinking, we were supposed to be at 2 million dead by the end of this year. Like, we're not even close to 2 million dead. So did he do something that lowered that number, or was it hyped up way beyond, what it should have been? I mean, did we get freaked out about something? Like, and now with the World Health Organization, it's funny. I got fact checked by Facebook for sharing this. Who I can't even remember who it was. It was some mainstream news organization that said, World Health Organization now says that person-to-person contact is very unlikely.
With asymptomatic.
Yeah. If you're asymptomatic, it's very unlikely that you're going to spread it. So basically, if you're sick, if you are showing symptoms, just like the flu, basically we could treat this exactly like the flu. Yep. That's what that was telling me.
And
but Facebook fact checked me and said that's false. I'm like, okay.
The WHO has just shit all over any credibility it had left. And then on top of that, the kill rate is like, 0.26?
Yeah.
To 0.18 or something, which is exactly like the flu. Like, there's...
Yeah. I just don't understand how we can be sitting here saying now this is all Trump's fault. But of course, this is what they're going to do. So I think with the media and how this whole election is going to play out this year with the riots, all that, I think it will hurt his chances. I don't think that he's going to be able to...
Definitely. And Biden from a cave or wherever his lair is actually benefiting. And in many states, I saw in Wisconsin, he's beating Trump in Wisconsin, according to reliable polls, not shitty polls, reliable ones.
How convenient. He doesn't even need to go out and do anything now.
Yep.
Yeah.
They don't need a deep fake. He just doesn't even need to say anything, even when he's in his cove.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I still think that's going to happen at some point.
Definitely.
But one variable in the equation is this. Sooner or later, Joe Biden has to stand on a debate stage with Trump.
And Reince Priebus, head of the RNC and really high up in the RNC, has already stated on Fox, he was talking to, I think it was Sean Hannity. He was telling him he's trying to get 3 more debates with a commission because he knows Biden's going to look like a fucking tool on stage.
Well, that'll be what helps him. The more clips that they can get of Biden just stumbling over his words.
Yeah. Well, that and the fact that Trump can completely eviscerate him on criminal justice reform.
Yeah.
Aside from authoring the 94 crime bill, which gave police more power, militarized the police.
Well, in his lifetime in politics.
Yeah. And here are a few of his accomplishments, quote, accomplishments that he had when he was, senator from Delaware. And this is kind of relating to the 94 crime bill because, the leftists and the SJWs and, many libertarians are big on criminal justice reform, like reforming or ending the drug war, mass incarceration, yada, 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 all that stuff. But everything he has done throughout his political career in the past few decades has flown in the face of anybody trying to do that. And one of the things is the Comprehensive Control Act. This 1984 law, spearheaded by Biden and Senator Strom Thurmond, expanded federal drug trafficking penalties and civil asset forfeiture, which allows police to seize and absorb someone's property, whether cash, cars, guns, or something else, without proving the person is guilty of a crime.
Perfect.
Yep. And then the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988. This law, co-sponsored by Biden, increased prison sentences for drug possession, enhanced penalties for transporting drugs, and established the Office of National Drug Control Policy, which coordinates and leads federal anti-drug efforts.
So yeah, I was just going to say, so these are federal that you're listing off, right?
Yep.
So that means all of the issues that we're seeing today stem from bills like that.
Exactly.
Because they can go and seize your property without having to convict you of anything,
And
without you having to go through the jury, going through the process. We're just going to take your shit and go from there.
Yep, and in many states like Tennessee and Oklahoma and some others, civil asset forfeitures, if they find a joint in your car, they can repo your car. And then you have to hire a lawyer and you have to prove that your property didn't have anything to do with the crime or like cash seized or whatever.
Oh yeah,
And then you have to hire lawyers, and it takes years to get your shit back. It's crazy.
yeah, and sometimes you might have more of a battle and legal fees if you wanted to go through something like that.
I can't even imagine.
Like, what do you like? That'd be such a process, and they'll just take your money. Like, if you're basically incentivized to not carry cash on you at that point.
Exactly.
Because if you ever run into the police and you have, say, a few $100s wadded up in your pocket, it could be gone. Just
They could even bust you for intent to sell or intent to sell.
Yeah.
And
I've seen that where people they've had cash in their car and they didn't have anything else, no drugs or anything, but just the fact that they had a large amount of cash on them, the cops found that suspicious, so then they can just seize it.
yeah, that's pretty much
what the fuck?
Exactly. Those are the violations that the Redcoats actually did, which led James Otis Jr. To kind of help fight for what would later become the Fourth Amendment to protect against unreasonable searches and seizures. So it's interesting that, the law and order crowd just has no problem with anything to do with criminal justice reform, but at the same time, the right is doing more than the left because the left has damaged like that issue so far. Or
well, yeah, if this
they're
is
standing on that issue over the past 2 decades. But then, like we were saying before the episode, Rand Paul just made Breonna Taylor's law, which is a ban on a nationwide ban on no-knock raids by the police, which are conducted every single day, dozens of them. And then Justin Amash just made a bill or authored a bill to end qualified immunity for police officers.
Yeah. What's wrong with all of that, though, is they're not just virtue signaling. They're not making big statements, big gestures. Exactly. It's not the right thing to do. They need to be wearing, the scarves and kneeling for a symbolic amount of time of 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Yeah, Logan, you watched that video where Nancy Pelosi and her ass clown Democratic colleagues,
fucking 80 years old,
put on those West African garbs or
the kente
or
cloth,
whatever, and then they took knees 6 feet apart.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the level they're willing to pander to blacks.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen that video where John McWhorter talks about how basically anti-racism, or you could even just say social justice ideology in general, has become like a new secular religion for the left?
No, but I have seen similar, discussions from Thomas Sowell and read about him.
Yeah, well, like for example, when the left say that white people are inherently racist and nothing they do can make them not a racist,
right?
That is literally the Christian doctrine of original sin, just applied in a secular left-wing context. They're just reinventing religion.
Yeah.
Or like when you see all these images of white liberals literally bowing down to like black people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, yeah, that's just like bowing down to your priest.
Pretty much. And those same people who bend the knee to the SJWs, they don't know history when it comes to slavery because that's a narrative now. It's not like Black Lives Matter wants to work and make criminal justice reform the focal point, which is something many people can rally around. It's like becoming this cult, like tenet or view or principle where it's like, we're starting to see signs where they say white silence equals white consent or white silence equals white compliance, which is downright fucking ridiculous. And then, you have the 1619 Project, which is historically inaccurate, and that factors into it because that gets cited nowadays by SJWs as, America's legacy of slavery. When in fact, on a global scale, there was never any, throughout history, there was never any racial motivation for slavery.
Yep.
Right.
I miss the good old days when a cult was just a way for a charismatic guy to fuck everybody's wives. I don't like these new cults that they're coming up with.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Like, why couldn't we just stick it? Why couldn't we just stick to the Mormons? You know, just move out to Utah because of religious persecution. One guy gets like 20 wives, just breeds the living shit out of them, and then that's the cult. That's the amount of weirdness that we're willing to go to. Not this whole historical revisionism, and then we have to constantly apologize for being a color and have to constantly apologize for something that never happened in our lifetimes.
Yep.
Well, and it might not have where they're tearing down the statue of, say, whoever, like X number of people that had nothing to do with slavery even.
Yeah.
Or maybe even did something to help slavery end. They want to take down statues of those people. Like, the level of ignorance is insane.
Makes no sense.
So what are we supposed to speak up about? Like, are we supposed to be like, yeah, we're upset with you about something that never happened? Is that what we have to do?
Pretty much. And they spray painted this abolitionist statue's face and they defaced it and stuff, and he was a pure abolitionist.
Yeah, I think that was the one that I saw.
Yeah, exactly. And his like face was spray painted red or whatever. And
yeah,
it's just so fascinating because there's a Lenin statue there's a statue of Vladimir Lenin in Seattle that hasn't been defaced or anything. And then,
well, he's cool.
Yeah, he's hip and cool, you know, that commie. He was cool, man. He made it rad. But anyways, they don't touch the FDR memorials or statues or the Woodrow Wilson memorials or statues. And Woodrow Wilson is arguably one of the most racist major historical figures in American history.
Yeah.
Like, that fucker, when you read about some of the shit with like the eugenics and what he thought about blacks and how we replaced like many federal employees right on the spot with white employees, and they had been previously black, like the black ones that were in their place.
Wow.
It's crazy, man. He hung out with Klan members too.
It just shows how ignorant all these people are. They don't even know what they're upset about.
No. And how bored do they have to be to just spend time thinking they accomplished something by toppling a statue of Christopher Columbus or Robert E. Lee or, defaced a statue of Winston Churchill. It's like, what did you accomplish?
Change the world right there.
Yeah,
well, they got a bunch of celebrities to start mobilizing and take responsibility, so that was nice.
Logan, have you watched that video?
Which one?
It's in the celebrity video where it's in black and white. It's a bunch of celebrities saying, I take responsibility. Never again will I leave a moment that I could have done something unchecked.
Is it about like
cringe,
racism or something?
Pretty much. It's just
you would know if you've
racism,
seen it.
Social justice.
You would know if you've seen it. It's pretty bad.
I haven't
It's
seen it.
so
but
awkward because and these celebrity videos are just getting worse and worse with the passing months. Whatever the cause, it doesn't matter what the cause is. They're just getting shittier, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's
You
terrible.
look at the ratio on YouTube, Twitter, whatever, and it's like, wow, nobody really gives a fuck about what you guys have to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm convinced that all celebrities are NPCs.
Oh,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
Vast majority, anyways. No doubt about it. They got to toe the line, otherwise they don't get jobs in pedophile Hollywood.
Well, they have no original thought, and that's what's in that video that we're talking about. Is they are reading a script and getting emotional about it, which is basically they're just doing their jobs at that point. They're just being NPCs. Just feed them a script. They'll do what they need to do. Like, oh, this is a real emotional script right here, so I'm gonna get all worked up about it, and that's all. That's pretty much all they're gonna do.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just to save face. Like right now, Tucker Carlson's coming under attack, and people are. I mean, he's always been under attack, but there's actual businesses now distancing from him.
Yep.
Like they're not going to be sponsoring him anymore.
Going after the advertisers.
So you're going to see it where basically this is going to become such a strong emotional thing, and with cancel culture, you're either going to have to get on board or you're going to have to get out.
Yeah, it's like go woke, go broke.
And all the views.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the ultimate.
Free speech
right
is
now.
already being categorized as like right-wing racist hate speech. Just free speech. Having a conversation, a civil conversation, left, right, doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, you can't question because it's already set in stone. We already have all the answers. So if you don't agree with us, then you're against us because we already know this is bad. We need to do something about it. And, we could agree with that. It's just the issue isn't racism.
Exactly, it's statism.
And it's not that racism isn't an issue. It's just you can't really solve that. And if there is anything as far as a systematic problem with it, it's from the bills that we just talked about.
Yep.
And the issue isn't about race then, it's about police brutality at that point. It's about the institution itself against all people.
Exactly. And
so maybe we do need to disband it. I don't know. I just you got to have some sort of
for sure
plan in place.
Absolutely. And like you were saying, how like any racism that stemmed from those laws that Joe Biden helped pass because he is the architect of mass incarceration because the 94 crime bill, which I think there was a Democratic majority in the House, because the Democrats wanted to pull the tough on crime, issue away from Republicans. So they passed a lot of shit in the 90s that basically gave legal refuge to those conducting no-knock raids, even over cannabis or something simple. And that, helped kind of evolve like mass incarceration and the 3-strike rule. And it helped evolve what is modern day slavery. And now to try and unwind our way out of it, the fact that BLM isn't paying attention or having that as the focal point, it's very depressing. And
well, they're just not
sad because
they're upset about something they don't know what they're upset about.
Sure.
I mean, they think they do, but they don't realize what you just said there. They don't understand the history of what led up to where we're at. They just look at it as white and black, like literally.
For sure.
That it's a white and black
definitely.
issue.
And they're going to have to
black and white.
They're going to have to face the music at some point with these Democrats saying, "Oh, well, Trump's bad, but I don't want Trump in office and Biden's the lesser of two evils." Well, Biden's pretty fucking evil. Like his voting record and everything. He's voted for the second Iraq war and everything that, like, all the wars, all of these policing issues that, the SJWs seem to be concerned about.
None of these lifetime politicians are the issue.
Exactly.
Like, none of these people that have held office for 40 years are the issue. Apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not evil.
Yep. They just went along with it, signed away our civil liberties and eroded our civil liberties.
Yep.
And they get a pass, but Republicans nowadays actually trying to unwind some of their bullshit, like Amash, Massey, and Paul. They don't get the media coverage, and it's great. It's wild.
Yeah,
it's so fucked up.
It's because if they're doing that, then and they're not getting covered, what's the goal of all of this? If they can't see that and be like, yes, this is exactly what we're looking for, then what are they being motivated by? Because I thought it was about change. Here's your change. I don't care.
Exactly.
So it's fucked up.
Yeah. Definitely.
It seems too coordinated to me. I'm gonna say it for a long fucking time.
And that's not conspiratorial or fringe
at all.
It's
too coordinated. Something's going on. And it doesn't, I'm not saying George Soros, any of that shit. This could literally be Russia.
Quite possibly.
It could be.
That's what sowing with the division, everything. That's what Anonymous has been tweeting. I mean, they've been tweeting some heavy shit lately ever since the Floyd thing.
Russia did this in 2016.
Yep.
They got the Proud Boys and Antifa to have protests, and I think it was in Portland. Mm-hmm. And they had them start in different areas. Then they got together, and then fights broke out. Yeah. So just think about that. A country organized something on Facebook. You didn't even need to have like a leader there, somebody in place. You can just organize it online, get people to be there. You don't have to show up. So I could start an event here in Duluth, get a bunch of people to show up, and I don't even have to attend it. But I got a bunch of people to get together, and I started a protest that way. Mm-hmm. So Who the
fuck just? I was just gonna say, who the fuck just goes to a protest based on a Facebook group?
I don't know. That's what I
Like
don't
who?
understand. Is somehow it works. Some people get
Yeah.
paid too. Some people do get
Oh.
paid.
Yeah, always actors. For
And
sure,
that's
man.
that's seriously I see that all the time. It's on Craigslist. No
Yeah.
fucking joke. Like I went and I found the ads myself, and
That's
they're
insane.
right there.
Yeah.
There's ads right there. Like we need you for these days because we're going to protest. We need to have change. This that like.
Yep.
And they pay you to do it. And then once you get enough people, then you also get the other people that come in because they feel emotionally drawn towards it. I need to do something. I need to step up.
Yep.
So then you get those people out there. So you get a mix of people, paid or not paid, and
they
then
don't even
here you go.
exactly. It's just like I'm vaguely on this team. I don't have any messages or anything, and I'm on this tribe or team. I don't have any messages, but I'm not on that fucking tribe or team, so
Yeah.
I know I'm over here. And it'd be nice to have a united front. Like if BLM will just stick to one message, which is for the time being, if they want to be against police brutality or ending the drug war, ending mass incarceration, then so be it. But they have
Yeah.
all these offshoot messages and all of these narratives that they want to perpetuate, and the media just fans the flames and helps
Yeah.
drive and push it. And it pisses me off because we could have real change with criminal justice reform,
Oh yeah.
and it's not going to happen,
Right.
even with all this shit going on.
That's what I don't get is we could actually have it going on. There's people trying to do it, but they aren't getting any attention.
Yep.
It's really
Does-
fucked up.
Does Black Lives Matter have a list of specific demands, objectives?
Yeah. Reparations, that seems to be the big one that I always hear. I mean,
Wow.
they just want money, I think, and I don't think it matters what lump sum you come up with because it'll never be enough. And they'll say
Yep.
that, oh, there's this one person that they went and they basically combed through everything and they came up with the dollar amount of X trillion dollars, let's say, 1 point however trillion dollars, 1.4, let's say. And if they didn't get that amount, then say you gave them $1 billion split to every person based on their skin color, $1 billion divvied up, they still wouldn't say that's enough.
Well, and however that would be divided, like, are you half black? Are you quarter black? Are you black fully?
Oh yeah, and it would be
And they
it
don't
would
even-
never be enough.
Yeah.
Like you can't take care of
And
something
the interesting
like that.
thing too, yeah, you're completely right. And the repatriation of land before even Columbus arrived, because the Comanche like stole so much fucking land, like the Apache, the Comanche, the Blackfoot, the Blackfeet. How would you even how far back does it go determining who gets which territories and resources and whatnot? And is Turkey gonna dole out money to Mediterranean Europeans
Well, you
for reparations?
just
for all
start
those years in
drawing
the
like
Ottoman Empire?
arbitrary lines. They would just say nope from this time to this time.
Yep, exactly.
Well, and
And I
what's up?
thought we already did reparations. Isn't that what like welfare and affirmative action are about?
You would think. You would think.
Yeah. It's not enough, Logan.
It's not enough. We need more. We need a lump sum of cash.
We'll just do 10 trillion for black people, and we'll just print the money off, because that seems to be the big fashion nowadays, is just printing money off at the treasury. Everybody gets a check. Doesn't matter what color you are, and then you piss it away, and then the future generation either has to be taxed into fucking oblivion, or
Right. Well, and they
It's just
take all
borrowing.
that money and they try to go spend it, and it's just worthless. And they'd be like, "Yeah, there's just no value in it. We've moved on to Bitcoin."
there you go, dude.
That's what pushed us over. U.S. dollar is no longer valid. There's too much of it,
It's no longer the reserve currency of the world.
which it could end up being that. There's too much of a push for federal digital currency.
Yeah,
It kind of worries me.
definitely.
So you see the big hold off, and you see all of the bashing of all the other coins that are out there. Any other cryptocurrency is bad, but then once government comes in and they have their own cryptocurrency,
Then it's stable and good.
that's good.
Yep.
That's what we need.
But I think eventually we're gonna get the indie folk cassette tapes as our currency from CHAZ.
Yeah,
We're gonna be trading them. We're gonna have so much value, Logan.
or vinyls. I think that's good. I like the vinyls
I like the artistic work.
as currency. I at least have a few of those.
True.
I don't have any cassettes, so I'd be fucked. I don't like that as a currency.
Yeah, that's true.
So, what is the right-wing reaction going to be to all this madness?
Just Trump is doing an amazing job. Doesn't matter what he does, he's just doing fucking remarkable.
No, but I mean, like, among, like, the people, like, what is going to be the right-wing movement that's analogous to what the left is doing right now? Because there has to be some kind of,
Counterbalance.
Yeah.
Yeah, counterbalance, exactly.
They'll just buy more guns, I think.
Yeah.
That's usually what they do. Every time something like this happens, they're like, just increase purchasing of guns. I don't have enough.
What do you think's going to happen?
I'm way
What's
ahead
going
of
to
you
be
on
the
that,
dynamic
Ryan.
of a group that's the
Yeah.
counterbalance to Antifa, Black Lives Matter?
I mean, I want to buy guns because of this shit. Fuck.
Yeah. Oh, I already did.
Yeah.
Start saying strap, man. Notice all the businesses in Idaho where people were strapped with ARs and level 4 bulletproof vests and pistols and handguns.
Yeah.
Nobody fucked with those businesses. What a coincidence.
Yeah. Shock. Just shocked.
Yeah. It also helps if you look at the demographics of Idaho.
Yeah.
True. But that would be funny to see, like, some Antifa guy just try to light a Molotov cocktail or something, or try to firebomb one of those and just get lit the fuck up before he lights that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, do you really want to give it a shot? You want to try looting one of those businesses in Idaho? Because it showed that video and they just kept going down the line of businesses where people were armed. It was like a small town or whatever. I'm not sure if it was Coeur d'Alene, Twin Falls, or wherever. And they were just locked and loaded. They were like, nope,
Yeah.
not going to happen here. Sorry. And that's the deterrent. That's the beauty of, I guess, free market protection when the police, or when the governor says, I'm not sending the police and National Guard out to protect your businesses, even though you've paid your proportionate amount of taxes. You got a strap.
Yep, you're on your own in the end. The state just wants your money, and that's it. They are modern day pirates.
It's like if the mafia didn't turn a profit, just like you were saying, pirates.
Yeah.
I think pirates, especially in the roadways, adequate.
Yeah, road pirates for sure. I mean, they're just targeting you for any number of reasons to take your money. You know, oh, we're going to take your money if you do this. So if you try to buy this, we need your money for that. Oh, you inherited some money, we need some of your money out of that as well.
But then when
Like-
you need some of that fucking money for protection, because there are people fucking burning businesses, they're like, what do you do? It happens.
Yeah, well,
Sorry about that.
Right.
Just
And
got
they
your
say,
text.
we need your money because of this, this, and that. It's like, okay, well, I need that right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I need that right now.
I'm
There are
sorry.
people fucking dressed up, can't see their faces.
Yeah.
They have hammers.
Well, and fucking Walls' daughter, when she's going off,
God.
warning, like, hey, everybody, you think the National Guard is coming tonight, but they're not coming. The National Guard is not on the
shoot.
way.
Wow.
I couldn't believe that. It's like, okay, so you have the governor's daughter tweeting out to everybody, just saying, hey, don't worry about the military. They're not coming. I don't know. You'd think that would be news, but it wasn't. Probably just because nobody saw it because she has no followers, but she wanted somebody to see it.
Yeah.
Some fucked up shit, man.
Yeah, I could see this whole thing actually. I can see an angle where this helps Trump win re-election.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that.
Because I just think about 1968 when Richard Nixon carried 49 of all 50 states.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they say the reason why is because previously there was the riots at Kent State and like race riots throughout the country. And it turns out that when the silent majority sees chaos, it makes them get nervous, and then they just vote for what they perceive as a strong conservative leader who they think is going to establish law and order.
Yeah.
Because Richard Nixon was a guy who harped on law and order a lot, and I could definitely see Trump being positioned in that way. But then again, it's hard to say because the demographics of the country are so different than they were in 1968. So we
Yeah.
just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I see what you're saying. It could go that way. There's also, yeah, different factors nowadays as far as the mixing pot of the good old U.S. and the racial tension being a factor. So who knows?
Well, you got to think that there's a lot of normies out there getting nervous from all the chaos they see, and that probably makes them more likely to go for Trump.
Yeah.
Because he is positioned as the law and order candidate. At least that's what people would perceive him as.
Well, yeah. Even though with Biden's responsible for all the laws.
The fucking hammer. But, like if BuzzFeed or Vox gives him an interview, he's not smart enough to pull punches when it comes to like rallying his progressive base.
No.
Right? He just doubles down on his voting record. He's like, we got a lot of bipartisan bills done. It's like, what the fuck? He's talking to a progressive reporter, interviewer, commentator, and
yeah,
that's on top of saying all the dumb shit like he said to Charlemagne the God.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Like, what the fuck?
If you're not voting for me, you ain't black.
And so if Trump says that, the media
God.
tears him apart, and rightfully so over it. But Spike Lee like gave him a pass.
Yeah,
he said he had to talk to a lot of people. He had to make quite a few phone calls, but he's not going to be making that mistake again. It's like, would you have said the same thing if Trump has said that? No.
Yeah, the forgiveness comes very quickly.
Yeah.
I just love watching the liberal media let Joe Biden take wide open layups, and he still misses every single one.
Yeah.
Do you know
like,
that?
All right, try again, bud. Just try again.
Yeah.
He's like the crypt keeper from Tales from the Crypt at this point. Just fuck. It's just in mind too. It's just dementia, you know.
Yeah. Why is he not in a nursing home?
It's a neurodegenerative disease, and they want to put him up on a fucking stage with somebody who knows how to play the media that is entirely against him and win.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, no wonder why Reince Priebus and Donald Trump won 3 or 4 more debates.
Yep. The more that they can get Joe Biden to speak at all, especially when Trump is there beating him up, it can only help Trump.
Definitely, because Biden's not going to win too many independents.
Because whether you love Trump or hate him, like, he is sharp as a tack. Like, his ability to, always have quick lines is right there.
Yeah. And he knows that when the media, he said this before, when the media punches me, I punch back twice as hard.
Yep.
Because if you apologize to the rage mob or the media, right or wrong, justified or unjustified, you lose. And he understands that.
Yep.
That's his secret to winning.
Yeah, I mean, that's how he got 2016, is he just went to war with the media and people loved it.
Yeah. I just get butterflies in my stomach just thinking about all the lines we're going to get out of debates. Like,
yep.
The zingers.
I still think about when Trump was like, yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Yeah,
I want more of those. I want more of those type of bombs.
Oh yeah, or the when he brought Juanita Broderick and 2 of Bill Clinton's other rape victims or sexual assault victims to the fucking debate and sat them in the front row.
That was incredible.
That was amazing.
I wanted to watch those debates. Like, if I was working, I would bring my Bluetooth speaker. I'd have to have it playing in the restaurant because I didn't want to miss a moment. I didn't want to have to watch it over. I had to be there live as it happened. Like, that was so entertaining. I'm with you. I want more of that. I hope that we get as many debates as we possibly can.
Oh yeah.
Trump should dump Mike Pence and make Tara Reid his running mate.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Oh my god.
There was that chart where it showed how many articles CNN did when it came to Brett Kavanaugh's accuser, Christine Blasey Ford, which is over 700, and then it showed in the other like category or whatever in the other column how many articles CNN did when it came to Tara Reid, Joe Biden's accuser, and it was like 2 or 3.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
and there was
why is
no corroborating evidence on Kavanaugh's accuser.
Yeah, nothing. Like she doesn't remember anything,
yeah.
like anything except the number of beers she had that night, which is insane.
Yeah. And you get CNN pulling the old Larry King episodes where her mother called in, right? Isn't that what it was?
Yeah, back in '93, I think it was.
Yeah. So CNN also is taking things down that would show there is a record of this that you could look to.
Yep.
Wow.
But we're going to take down some of that record. You could
That's
go
wild
find
shit.
it elsewhere, but they just took it off of their site at least.
Yep.
It's just that's so fucked up. We can't have any sort of audio clips, anything to corroborate the Ford investigation. But then when you get the Reid investigation here, you could actually, there's tangible evidence.
Yep.
There's audio that you could go and say, well, they were speaking up at this point about it.
Exactly.
And nothing. Let's not say a word about it. We're just gonna focus on Orange Man Bad. It's fucking nuts. So CNN is either
the memory hole
politically
the fucking audio.
They're either politically corrupt or they're pushing some other kind of fucking agenda. What is it? It's one of those things.
Yeah, they are definitely corrupt.
So I think there are going to be a lot. He's going to have to answer for that on stage. He's going to have to answer for all of his, mass incarceration and drug war bills and pro-policing bills that he co-authored, signed. He's going to have to answer for the wars that he supported. And he bragged about co-sponsoring the Patriot Act.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's who liberals are going to be voting for. And hopefully if Fox has a debate, hosts a debate, hopefully Tucker just fucking roasts him.
Right.
Hopefully Tucker just black pills an entire nation. That's going to be...
I guess that's what it's going to come down to, is who's hosting the debate. And I shouldn't even say CNN, because every one of these networks, they push the same goddamn stories.
Yep.
So they're all as corrupt as the other ones.
During the Dem primaries and caucuses and whatnot, during those Dem debates, Tom Perez, chairman of the DNC, he already said, we're not going to have debates on Fox. The candidates can have town halls individually, of course, but we're not going to have debates on Fox because they know that Fox has the Joker, the ace, Tucker Carlson, and if he gets to ask Joe Biden questions, it's game over. Because that's an hour and a half or 2 hours of Biden just getting eviscerated by not just Trump.
Yeah.
On his record, but
then also
Tucker's questions. My God,
the debate moderators, wouldn't be good.
You can't cuck the tuck.
You cannot cuck the tuck, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a huge push, like we were talking about earlier. You know, how you said they're going after Tucker's sponsors, advertisers.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to take him out with cancel culture and everything, and boycotting and public pressure before the debates start.
Right.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, if they can get enough companies to want to distance themselves, it could happen, because money runs everything. I mean, you can only have these voices on TV if they're getting paid to be there.
Yep.
Tucker needs to make his cash, man. He's expensive.
You bet.
Part of me almost wishes that it would happen, so that, because I'm sure Tucker holds back a lot. Imagine if he had a podcast where he could just take the gloves off and tell us what he really thinks about everything. I would love that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that people, if they really listened to him and he was able to go off like that, there's a lot more that people would end up agreeing with him on, like from the left.
Yeah.
And that's what they hate, because he talks about Tucker's big on like a higher minimum wage, or like bigger companies paying their employees like $15 an hour. Like he has hit Bezos and Amazon about that, which isn't a capitalist position, of course. If he's advocating for governmental like regulation and whatnot to force them to pay higher wages. But I read his book, Ship of Fools. There's a lot leftists and even centrists would agree with Tucker on. Yeah. But it's just that he's so based, and he's just fucking sharp as a tack once he, gets on air.
Well, he's on Fox.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They associate that with right-wing immediately.
Well, he's socially conservative, but he is like an economic populist, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He is,
could say that. That makes sense.
for sure. So who wins, Logan? Who do you think wins? Just calling it right now from what
Trump.
we're seeing.
Trump, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's by a
Yeah.
thinner margin, of course. I think Biden has a leg up on him in
A
Wisconsin.
thinner margin than last time?
Well, in terms of the electoral college.
I was so thin already as it was.
Yeah.
That was so damn close, wasn't it?
Let me check.
I mean, I know that Hillary won the popular vote, so people make that argument. But I just thought that if it would have been like a couple states different, Hillary would have won.
Yeah, well, Trump won all the swing states. That was the thing.
Yeah.
I think Hillary only won like one swing state, but it was 220 for electoral college. It was in 2016. It was 227 electoral college votes for Hillary, and then 304 for Trump. So I think
okay.
Biden might take one of the Carolinas or something,
That was a
and
decent gap.
maybe Wisconsin, but we'll see. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who knows?
We'll see how badly he fucks up his chances. I'm excited
Yeah.
for sure, man. Want to call it a day, Logan? Call it a
Yeah,
night?
I'm good. Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll do some research, and next time I'll have more talking points.
Sure.
It's all good. You're
Yeah,
pretty locked in
I
there.
need to look stuff up too. I've been back at work. I've been too busy, and then here Mitch is talking about CHAZ and all this other shit. I'm like, who are you talking about? I have no idea who
Chaz from
CHAZ
Wedding
is.
Crashers.
Yeah.
Or a new fucking nation.
I thought it was a person at
the
first.
birth of an empire.
I had to Google that shit. Yeah, the next big fucking empire. My God.
I would laugh my
God
ass off. Part of me hopes that happens just for the entertainment value.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how
Yeah.
totalitarian and evil they are. It's funny that it would.
Yeah.
Just walk around beating the shit out of anybody who doesn't subscribe to their arbitrary rule of law and court system.
Yeah.
Like just beat the fuck out of them. Just keep wandering.
You'd have to submit, like, wouldn't you? What are you saying?
Yeah.
It all depends on who has the guns. Like if you could protect yourself, obviously. If they have the numbers and stuff, and the knives and the brass knucks and the ninja stars, I'm sure.
Well, what if they just like occupy a bunch of supply chains? Like they go
That's
into
true.
Tyson Foods and they just take over their chicken production.
All the
and-
chicken farms, yeah. or like the fossil
Oh.
fuel supply line. That would be. They could do it probably if they got their numbers.
Oh my God.
Fuck up the pipelines.
Well,
Antifa.
That's a good
Gets an
question.
oil
Like,
rig.
can they take over chicken? Like, I would assume they'd be vegans.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, man,
Will the revolution?
we're usually vegans,
be-
but this is for the cause, you know. It's
Yeah.
for the expansion of CHAZ.
Will the revolution
have
be
to-
eating meat?
The United
It's a good question.
the United States
a good question.
of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone
What
of America.
would you say?
The United States of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone of America. That's what it's going to be.
God, that doesn't have a good ring to it at all.
No, it's fucking terrible. That's the point.
You just gotta call it CHAZ, man. The United States of CHAZ.
The United States of CHAZ man. Like comma man. Totally. Fucking amazing.
Yeah, pure vegan state.
Hammer and sickle.
I would wonder, like, yeah, how is that going to go off? Like, they're gonna feed everybody purely off of their gardens that they're producing, but it's only for the blacks.
And the indigenous.
It's just crazy how we can turn everything back into race. Like, just
Yeah, they're
it's
discriminating.
completely flipped. You know, instead of white
Yeah.
on black, we got to do black on white racism
Yeah.
for a while. You know,
then
all these white people can't do this or that. It's like the exact same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anybody who thinks, you know, whites can't be poor or anything can just drive through Appalachia. I've driven a few hours through there. Fucking terrible. Downtrodden.
Well, and
Yeah.
I don't see this racism. Like, as somebody who hires people, I can tell you I've hired many, many black people. They all quit. Every single one of them. And I gave them a chance. I'm like, you know what? You gave me a good story. I'm going to give you the opportunity. Here's your opportunity. I've presented many opportunities. None of them take it. So it's just, I don't understand. Like, if people are in a certain position, I've tried to help them out of it. There's only so much I can do. So when you see that people are poor, what do?
There's nothing else you can do other than offer them the opportunity, like you were saying, offer them the job so they can produce for themselves and their families and better themselves and their families. And if they don't want to do that, then it's like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't understand how things were so bad in people's eyes.
Yeah,
Because you have so many black people that have been successful now. I mean,
absolutely.
they've been able to become president of this entire fucking country, but apparently we're all so racist still.
Yep.
America's so racist that we voted a black man into
A
office.
black man for president, and then, well, a black attorney general in Eric Holder.
Yeah.
And this is crazy because if the left and the SJWs really want to blame slavery for everything and the after effects of slavery, well, there was a time, I think it was I can't remember, was it the 30s or the 50s, where blacks were like 5 or 6% of America in terms of or 5% of or 6% of the American populace, but they owned like 25 to 30% of all businesses.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It is wild.
They were very entrepreneurial, and then the nuclear family got broken up, and that's for another fucking podcast episode.
Yeah.
Well, what I really want to know is, if systemic racism is a real thing, then why is it that in every measure of life success, it's not white people who are on top, Asians and Jews? So we can talk about Asians and Jews both have higher average incomes than whites, higher educational attainment. They have lower levels of crime rates and incarceration rates. So, like, if the system is rigged, then why is it rigged in such a way that that Asians and Jews both come out ahead of white people?
Exactly. I mean,
Right.
Asians or Asian Americans were incredibly persecuted in the 20th century in America. And yet they're doing better than white people in every statistical category when it comes to like lowest rates of violent crime, drug use, divorce rates, and they're doing the best in education, scoring tests, and like per capita income, IQ.
You just got to pick and choose your stats. You can't have your alternative facts there, your racist alternative facts.
Yep.
You just got to have these facts. So Business Insider put it out, just different graphs, like the household wealth of black and white Americans. And this is just what makes me go back to my original point then is, if blacks are so poor, why is that? I've tried to give them money. So I don't know if this is going to show up. But if you just see this. So that's racism right there, Logan. God, focus.
Yeah.
Focus. But it just shows, as you could probably see the little squiggly lines, whites have become richer and richer as time has gone on. Meanwhile, blacks have basically stayed the same. So there's your racism right there. And then it just shows college attainment of blacks and white Americans. Same basic thing, just a line. Here are these random lines with random stats. And then they showed black women's annual earnings versus other races. So when you're talking about Asians and all of that, I think that works if you generalize it. But if you look at just the women, they have... Wait, what the fuck? So they compared white men's earnings to black women's earnings. I just realized that. They just compared those two things. So like white men earn more than Asian women and black women and white women and Hispanic women. So they're just basically saying white men.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Probably throwing a straight white male graph just to put a cherry on top.
That's what they had to do. Yeah. The fucking Business Insider.
But then you look at the graph of Asian Americans and Jews, like, Logan was saying, and how they're doing better than everybody else. Well, they were persecuted and they're thriving. They're kicking ass in America.
Yeah.
And
well, it goes
back to victimhood versus,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The only solution is that those racists and sexists at the North Dakota oil rigs need to start hiring women. All the female applicants I'm sure they get who are just dying to work the oil rigs, they need to start hiring them so that we can close the wage gap.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, if female feminists really want to bitch about the wage gap, which has of course been debunked by even leftist economists, well, they can go up to the oil rig. I hear it's only 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off with 16 to 18-hour days when you're on. So it's super difficult work. And, men are really overrepresented in the oil and gas industry. And I think those numbers need to be equalized. I think it needs to be 50-50. So we need some women out working in the oil fields, working in the patch.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, like, I'm a pretty strong, healthy man, and even you could not get me to work in that job.
Oh, God.
So I don't know, like, I definitely think those guys absolutely earn their paycheck. I don't know how
Yeah,
you can say
you
it's
bet.
sexism.
And it's funny that people who fill up on gas don't really know where it comes from. They don't know how much work it takes with the drilling coordinators and the field hands and everything to just get it out of the ground, get it transported. They just want to bitch and moan and virtue signal. And I really wish all the feminists would just try to close that gender employment gap. Just head up to Fort McMurray, Canada, or Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, or Williston, North Dakota, anywhere
Yeah.
up there. Give it a shot. See how you like it.
I'm sure they're hiring, so like just go apply,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
Logan, are you saying that there are certain fields in which men are better off working than women?
Men are more
Well-
likely to work.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but it's only because this systemic patriarchy conditions women not to like those jobs.
Yep. That's what it is.
It's all just socially reinforced. It's not like there's biology involved.
Yeah.
No.
No. Biology, science, fuck that.
Yeah.
Well, and you can't really look at that because that. Oh God, I hope I took a screenshot of that. But basically, if you're referencing that old school biology, you're pushing exactly that. That's systemic white power type of shit. Like there's 72 fucking genders at this point. You need to understand.
You need to learn every single
it's-
one of them, Mr. Breon.
it's
If
just
you
not
don't, you're a bigoted,
male,
straight
female.
white male asswipe.
You got to think about the 2A pluses in the world and what they want and what their motivations are and things like that. I can't believe it. Like it's really getting that long.
Yeah, the crazy thing is some people actually believe that stuff. I don't know.
I know.
Professors,
I used to think-
academia, they're believing
Yeah, I
it.
used to-
They're teaching it.
I used to think that it was fake. Like I thought it was just something people argue about on the internet, but no, some people actually think this stuff.
Yeah, it's becoming more widespread. And when you see, like, I just saw Ilhan Omar was posting about it. The LGBTQA plus 2A group is, discriminated against and murdered on a daily basis and shit like
It's
that.
so specific with the
Yeah.
victimhood. It doesn't even fucking make sense anymore. It's just going to be a pie symbol. That's
Yeah.
what it's going to. It's just going to be a fucking pie symbol.
The diversity of the human race, yeah. Oh my God.
I could just identify as a Dorito and be like, my name is Cool Ranch and this is my story.
Yeah.
This is my sister, Spicy Nacho.
Yeah. This is flaming hot over here.
Or like Lauren Southern said, I'm an attack helicopter.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's
All right, man.
just
Thanks for coming on,
unbelievable.
It is.
I just wonder, like, what is it going to take for people to relearn the basic facts of civilization that were taken for granted thousands of years to pretend that we don't understand now?
Yeah.
It's going to take just concrete history, none of this revisionist bullshit. Just math and everything, like the English language itself. I mean, it's getting changed or is in the process of getting changed
Yeah.
by a certain group of people who want to dictate how we can speak or how we should speak.
Yeah. 1984 is alive and well.
And they're using it as an instruction manual. What a fucking time to be alive.
Fucking fools. I think we're just going to have to go back through the cycle. We didn't learn. We didn't understand well enough. Some of us can see the history, but too many don't. Too many don't understand, so it's just going to go back through the cycle. That's why I think we're so confused. It's like you're being anti-fascist by being fascist, and you're setting up your own city, and you're going to have your own structures. It's like, what's the point at that point?
Shutting down free speech events on college campuses or anywhere, really.
Yeah.
Public spaces. I mean, it's the new book burning.
That's my biggest criticism for like Zach Ewald. It's like, if you want some sort of business like that to exist, go out there. Go make that business. If you want that sort of business to be out there, who's stopping you? You know, go write up the business model. Go get somebody to approve you for a loan.
With the sustainability, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
just go get it going.
Well,
if you have that in mind, there's just certain things you have to do. You have to go to A, B, and C, and D.
Well, and there've been companies that have tried to do that. They do that. They have those sort of policies. Guess what? They all fucking shut down in no time because it's not viable.
Exactly.
Virtue
I just wish
signaling doesn't make you money.
I wish more people were like Elon Musk, where throughout his life he literally just identifies problems, and instead of protesting or begging someone else to solve it, he just solves it. Like Elon Musk said,
Takes risk.
Elon Musk said, I want to go to Mars. Well, to do that, we need reusable rockets to make it economical and bring down the prices. So he just did it.
Yep.
Another example, he said he was worried about the environmental effects of carbon emissions or whatever. So he's like, what if there was a badass electric car that people would actually be really excited about driving? That was not like this boring car, but a fast, sexy car that was just electric. And he didn't even know if it would work or not, but he did it. And look at Tesla. It's a pretty cool company now.
Exactly. Exactly. And those accomplishments and achievements are on top of what he already did at Zip2 and PayPal, you know, once he merged those two with Peter Thiel and his brother Kimball.
Yeah. Oh, and people will criticize that he got government money, but he paid all of it back with interest. So it was a good investment at that point then. Like, what are you criticizing? That he made the government money?
And he took risks. He was on his last few $1 million from his PayPal payout.
Yeah.
And he was literally on his last launch that had to succeed with SpaceX to get, you know, contracts and stuff so that he could work towards that economic viability of reusable rockets and privatizing space exploration.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right, Logan. Be the change you want to see. I mean, he just went out there and did it. You want something to happen, you make it happen.
Yeah, or like, wasn't there a kid who was building a device that cleans up trash in the ocean?
Boy in slot, yeah. And he doesn't get any media coverage, but fucking Greta does. Virtue signaling.
I know.
Like,
God damn it.
I just wish people would. I wish people would do less like protesting and more like doing something.
Yeah, well, they could have. I mean, that's what we've always been doing. Like, people have been creating businesses that have been making massive differences in the world. Like, they say, oh, I want to do this for people in this country. So they create their business, they make their money with the mission of doing some sort of work in some other country, and they achieve that. I mean, we've been doing that for a long fucking time. It's just people need to step up. You don't just get upset and say, government, do something.
Yeah, government will be the amazing, efficient middleman that'll really affect change in Africa.
That'll be the catalyst for change. Yeah, we can see what they've done in Haiti or Libya, the Middle East, all over the fucking world. They've been just fantastic of enacting change. I mean, they've changed things a lot. I mean, Libya's a slave hub.
A slave hub, yeah.
Back to being like one of the...
Hillary, thanks.
They had a really high standard of living before, and now it's just shit.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks to us.
That's why I really admire Mitch, because he wants to see his community be pristine and like no trash or litter. But he doesn't. It's not like he sits around with a sign and protests about, you know, no more trash. No, he actually walks around and picks it up himself, which very few people would take that initiative. But the fact that he does it shows that he's not just virtue signaling; he's actually solving the problem.
Well, what he needs to do is sit in a Walmart parking lot with a sign and yelling at everybody. Who
Yeah,
ends up throwing, like,
That
if he
actually-
sees somebody
if
throw
they
something
listen-
on the ground, he runs right up to him and says, "Hey, faggot!" Just picks up the can, throws it in their car,
Exactly.
and then when he's done, he throws his sign on the ground and leaves.
Yeah.
That's
I've
what
always-
you need to be doing.
Yeah. Well, it'd be effective if it was a good deterrent. Like if I could legitimately scare the shit out of people not littering in Walmart parking lots and Target parking lots. Like these Karens that come out and are just like, "Oh my god, I'm sorry, jeez." Go into their Escalades or their Chevy Tahoes, like pick up their trash. Pick up your fat. I'll just be like this fucking crazy person, like I'm all tweaked out or on meth or something. Like, pick up that fucking trash.
No.
It's like, oh my god, all right, and then they'll do it. And then there's no need to even fucking clean up, man. You just take care of business right then and there.
I bet
Boom.
Walmart and Target just fucking love you because they pay people to clean their own parking lots, but you come in and just do it for
Yeah.
them.
Well, I was in just cleaning up the Elk River parking lot for like probably the 95th time, and this black dude in a Tahoe gets out. He's like, "Hey, man." I was like, "What's up?" He's like, he saw me with my grabber. He's like, "You know, you could just get paid for that shit. You know what I'm saying?"
Yeah.
And then he walks into Walmart, and I'm like, "Holy fuck!" Like, I'm just benefiting like these mega corporations and the Walton family.
Yeah.
Like,
For free.
she has a trust fund of like what, 35 billion, 58 billion dollars, something like that.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know why you do that, Mitch.
I'm just this poor bastard like picking up condoms and thongs and worn down batteries, and sometimes the condoms have semi-fresh loads in them. Like I'm doing this shit for free. But yeah, no, it's the voluntarist aspect, and you know, if we all get out and we do whatever we feel is meaningful in helping out the community, whether we're in CHAZ or in Duluth, Minnesota, or Otsego, Minnesota, or Monticello, Minnesota, that's how we affect change. And I'm tired of these fucking virtue signalers that think they're doing something for a cause, but they're not doing jack shit.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are fake.
All right, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
It's nice chatting with you, man.
thanks for coming on,
Yep.
dude.
For sure.
See ya.
Yeah, you're welcome on anytime.
Thanks for having me.